Hey everybody, welcome back. So today I'm going to compare two brands, Squier and Donner, to see which guitars, in my opinion, offer the better value as a budget guitar. And again, this is my opinion. These guitars are priced roughly the same in terms of what their street price is. This is $289.99, the Squier Affinity Telecaster, and this Donner Strat style guitar is $289.99. Now they go on sale periodically on Amazon specifically. You'll find this Donner anywhere from that price to $150 if you can get it on sale. This guy here, the Squier Telly, is typically $289.99, $259.99. Every now and then Pro Audio Star runs a crazy deal on these. They've been blowing them out a while ago, and these were $150. So depending upon where you are in the price spectrum, they're approximately the same. But in any event, let's go head to head with them and see which ones offer the better value. And I'm doing this solely on a couple of areas: build quality, components, and overall value. Okay, so let's just talk about the various pieces that make that up. So, and I've given them a grade for each category, right? So we'll start off with the fretboard. So the fretboard on this Affinity Telecaster, this is the current model Telecaster with the belly carve in the back. And again, this is not a head-to-head comparison because it's not fair to compare a Telly to a Strat. They're two different guitars, two different setups, different pickups, the whole bit. But I'm just comparing the value of these guitars because the Affinity line is the same whether it's a Telly or a Strat model. And I happen to have the Telly on hand here. The fretboard is Indian Laurel on the Affinity. The fretboard on this Donner is Indian Laurel. They're both reasonably decent fretboards out of the box. Neither one of them was dry in my case, so I'm giving them each one as a value because they're approximately comparable here. Now, we'll talk about the body. So the body on this guitar, which is the Donner, is older. It's older wood, which is a higher end wood. You can basically see that grain right through the gloss paint on the guitar. Older is typically found on Strats and usually the higher end Strats. So the wood on the Squier Affinity is poplar, and that's a budget wood that's found on lower priced instruments as well. So I'm giving the nod to Donner in terms of the quality of wood that was used on these guitars. So they're getting a 1 versus none for Squier in that category. The next area are controls and components. So we'll lump them together. So the bridge on here is a basic pot metal bridge on the Donner. It's an inexpensive import bridge, and it's a 2-point bridge, which is a nice feature, but in terms of materials, it's not the best, I'll be honest, and it's bare bone budget materials. The controls on here are okay. They're fine. They work fine. They feel fine. In terms of the pots, the 5-way switch is a nice feel. Doesn't have a lot of play in it. So the components on here are okay. They're fine for a budget guitar and for somebody that is not necessarily playing out, or like myself, a novice, a home player. Similarly, the controls on here are fine. The pots are fine. They feel fine. They have a degree of variance that you notice on both the tone and the volume as you do on the Donner. The switch has a nice solid feel to it. It's not a chintzy feeling switch. The bridge on here is fine. It's very neat. It's not an expensive bridge. It's not an ashtray bridge that you would typically find on a vintage Telly, but it does the job, and it's fine for what it is. So, in terms of those components, I'm giving both of them a 1. They're both approximately the same on the quality. Pickups. So the pickups on this Affinity line or Affinity Series Squire are ceramic pickups, bare bone ceramic pickups, and they sound fine. They're okay for what you need them for. They're not great pickups, but they're okay. They're adequate. They get the job done for somebody that you're just playing at home for your own entertainment. The Strat style version of this guitar, I think I've reviewed as well, and they have Alnico ceramic pickups that are extremely hot and are thicker sounding, heavier sounding pickups than the Alnico pickups that are in here. So these are ceramics. And these are Alnico, which are more vintage. You're going to get less volume. You're going to get more articulation. And I think these pickups, in all honesty, the stock pickups on the Donner are better than the stock pickups on the Squire Affinity Series. So I'm giving 1 point for them here as well, and none for Squire on that one. In terms of build quality, I think I went over that. I mean, both guitars, for budget guitars, are finished nicely. The bodies are fine; they're clean. You have a 3-ply pickguard on here. You have a 3-ply pickguard on the Donner. The overall build quality on both guitars, I think, are fine. They're excellent for budget guitars. So I'm giving them an equal score on that. There's no advantage to either one in terms of build quality. Out of box state, okay? In terms of setup and issues or anything like that from the manufacturer out of box. This guitar is fine, the Affinity. However, it does have an issue with buzzing on the B string. So I have to address this. It's either a high fret or an issue with the nut. But I haven't had time, to be honest with you, to look into it. But it's got that sitar-ish sound on it. So out of the box, it did have a slight issue with string buzzing on the Affinity. Fret ends were fine, nice and smooth on this guitar. So other than that issue with the buzzing, no sharp fret ends. Had no issues with that on the Affinity Squire. On this guitar, I didn't have any issues with string buzzing. None on any of the strings. Fret ends were impeccable, smooth on this guitar. So the fact that right out of the box I didn't have any noticeable issues on the Donner, I'm giving it a 1. And Squire a none. So it has the edge in terms of out of the box condition. What else do we have to talk about? Tuners, comparable. You've got very, very decent budget tuners, sealed tuners on this Squire Affinity. They hold tune, they don't stick, they don't plink. They are very easy, smooth tuners to use. You can always upgrade any tuners to locking tuners if you want better tuners, or upgraded tuners if you're playing out or recording. But for the home player, the novice, person learning, these tuners are more than adequate. And the Donner is the same. Tuners are different on the Donner in that they are vintage style tuners. So you can see they're Kluson-like tuners, and they have the open string, whatever they call it. I have a brain fart here. The vintage style open string tuners on the guitar, so that you don't have those sticky strings hanging out of them. Some people prefer them, some don't. But in terms of holding tune and keeping tune, both comparable. This guitar does extremely well, as does the Squire Affinity. Neither one of them have problems with, constantly coming out of tune or sticky, plinky tuners. They're both fine. So even score for that. Neck. Okay, we want to talk about the neck finishing as well, right? Satin necks on both guitars. Just wanted to get that out of the way. It's a different feel. Obviously, this is a Strat neck. That's a Tele neck. It's a little bit wider, in my opinion, than this. But both necks are fine. Both are great playing necks and feel well to the hand. So, overall score from a value standpoint on all the things I just mentioned. The Donner gets the edge, the overall edge, and that's largely due to the type of wood, the better wood used, the better pickups, and the better out-of-state condition of the guitar. So I gave the Donner 7 points. I gave the Affinity 4 points. So the winner of overall value in terms of bang for the buck of this Donner Series, Seeker Series guitar versus the Squier Affinity Series guitar is Donner is the winner. Okay, that's one man's opinion. If you guys have different opinions or different viewpoints based on your experience with these guitars, we'd all love to hear about it. Put them in the comments below. If you find my videos helpful or useful to you, please subscribe. And again, any overall questions that you have, put them below. And as always, guys, until the next time, be well and stay safe. Take care.